right, no more analysis paralysis. Total Control 871. What up, guys? Yeah, I've been sitting here trying to get all my talking points together for today's episode. Again, we're going to be talking about the Great American Hustle, the con job, the great deception that the American government pulls on its people. I guess all of us American citizens are poor Rio, who has been led astray. Yeah, that was a gem in the holograms. Yes, I admit it. I, too, was a gem girl. Glamour and glitter, fashion and fame. Once you're a gem girl, you're never the same. Come on, and be a gem girl. Gem. Gem is my name. I never hid my fandom for it in the 80s when I was a kid, but it wasn't something that I could exactly, my boyhood chums were not into Gem, so I dug it. I dug the story. My sister Jackie, she once said, because she didn't know about it, and then I guess I introduced her to it back in the 80s. She's like, "Oh, this is a soap opera." And no, I was never into soap operas. The group home that I was in, a little strange 6 degree of separation type thing. One of the fellow boys, I won't say his name, but he once claimed that he was cousin to the girl that did part of the voice for Jem, and I never understood what he meant by part of the voice. And later, as I look back at my adult mind, I found the way he said it was so weird. But then again, what 15-year-old boy goes around saying he's cousin to the girl that voices part of Jem? And I didn't quite understand, but of course later, DVDs, the extra behind the scene commentary, I would later learn that Jem was actually voiced by two different people, just like the character itself, two different people. And he was cousin to the girl that did the singing for Jem, not talking for Jerica. So, and yeah, when they interviewed her in the DVD extra, I was like, holy smokes, yeah, they do indeed favor each other. I could see it around the eyes. Yeah, he wasn't lying. Anywho, deception, Gem. So why am I using Gem as our analogy today to talk about the deception that the government does to its people? I wish so many of the American people, the citizens, would finally just tap their Gem Star earrings. Shows over synergy. For those of you who don't know, I know I've learned too that I have some pretty young viewers. Gem is a story primarily geared to young girls, elementary age school girls. She inherits a music company basically, and her father invented a hologram projecting machine named Synergy, and she takes on a persona called Gem. Jerica Benton becomes the stage presence of Gem, and on and on and on. So there are so many different topics in our news that revolve around basically government and the citizens kidding themselves. Let's take the immigration issue. Okay. Our conservatives say there is a security threat. We don't have room. All this kind of cockamamie shit, right? And of course, our liberal elites, they say, fling open the border doors. Yeah. More the merrier. Come on, come all. Just come pouring in. And they have their own agenda for why they want that to be. We hear Trump talk about murderous, rapists, MS-13, but the reality is, when you finally tap your Gemstar earrings, shows over synergy, when you drop the act on the political issue, you learn America has needed South America all along, okay? You can argue about how you got here, okay? That's an argument you're more than welcome to have, but the reality is we need these people. If you were to go down to the basement and with the plumber's wrench and actually shut the border. Do you understand though? Do I want to use that analogy? Um, it's like the analogy, water. We do need water to live. America needs its immigrants, illegal and legal. Again, because we're calling it what it is. We need these people. If they don't, again, that's a whole separate argument over how much they get paid and work conditions. Unless you want your food to skyrocket, then we need these people. Switching topics now. Homelessness crisis, something that is very much indeed near and dear to my heart. As I go throughout my exploration of the homelessness crisis, there's a couple of documentaries. I use that word loosely. There is one called Homeless in Huntsville. If you guys type it in, it's a conservative, crafted documentary where basically there's this guy. He says he's not in the police department, but he has a security firm. He's an ex-military. He has a security company. And then there's this, he's Middle Eastern. His last name seems to suggest that he might be Hindu. Anyway, the point. It's a conservative approach to the homelessness where they go to do their version of homelessness undercover. Oh, they grew the beards out. Oh my. So they go to do their homelessness undercover. Throughout the documentary, there's just, for all of us real homeless people, we see one by one the bullshit. One of the first things they do, because they claim they want to get better understanding on the panhandling laws. So what do? They go and have a sit down with the local police department to have their better understanding, their meeting of the minds. In other words, you're tipping your hand to the local police department that you're going to be doing a production and that people are going to be seeing it so that the police will not come and pester you. So your police friends, because you're a security company, you want to be friends. You probably do have friends on the police department who probably work a part-time job on your security company. So we don't want to actually be mistaken for homeless people and end up capturing the fucked up behavior of the local police department and how they actually treat the homeless. So we see them tipping off there, and they do admit, though, that being homeless, it's extremely difficult to not break what they're calling laws. I'm sorry, but the Constitution usurps your ridiculous ordinance. We have a First Amendment right. Yes, we can hold signs requesting donations. I will fully admit, the physical, harassing, intimidating homeless as patrons come and go from establishments, I do admit those homeless people should be dealt with. But no, just passively sitting, minding your business, flying a sign, holding your sign up, requesting cash donations, it's protected by the First Amendment, all right? I'm sorry, you're never going to fucking convince me that Westboro Baptist Church can hold up its fucked up, vile, vitriolic signs, but me holding up a sign saying, please help, homeless. Anything helps. You're saying that that is worthy of a ticket and imprisonment if you don't pay the ticket. Okay? And Westboro Baptist Church can praise God for dead everything. Dead soldiers, dead cops, dead, just fucking dead everything. Everybody's going to hell. God hates everybody. I think I've made my point there. There is, oh God, what is, hold on, because it's really good. Hold on. Okay, this is called Streets of Plenty, Homeless in Vancouver, a so-called crime documentary. This guy's documentary was real strange. Real strange. He takes a whimsical approach. If I had to characterize it, I wouldn't say that it was conservative or liberal approach to the homelessness crisis. It was kind of lighthearted. It was kind of white guy in search of adventure. Okay, if I had to characterize it like that, like a type of white guy in search of adventure, and in the spirit of the Try Guys, hey, let's check into this homeless thing we've seen and heard so much about. Let's find out, how bad it is. In the video, he strips down to his Speedo type underwear, jumps into the water, and I get what he was trying to do. He's trying. I'm gonna link his too, because I'll tell you why in a minute. He strips down, and it's like a type of he's trying to convey the sense of, what if I was a newborn homeless? I want to convey to you, if I have absolutely nothing whatsoever, and I just emerge from the river, completely wet and with nothing. And he goes, it is interesting as to, as he asks for help, who tells him no at first and who ultimately at least points him in the right direction of a homeless shelter where he can get food, hot water, shower, stuff like that. It's interesting to see who ultimately helps him. Like I said, I want you guys to check out the documentary. And so the first week or so, it's all grand adventure. He's crashing in the homeless shelters. Something that our fake undercover security personnel did not do. They in homeless in Huntsville, they ultimately bedded down in back of a building. They never said where it was at, but it looked very municipal. If I had to say, the cops or the fire department told them to, sack out. So once again, you're not actually getting a full understanding of what it is to be homeless, because, and if I'm not mistaken, was that like an orange electrical cord in back of them where there may have been a heater going? So obviously, in homeless in Huntsville, the cops knew what you were doing and they were helping you. So that's not an accurate representation of homelessness. Anyway, back to our, our Streets of Plenty documentary. Streets of Plenty. In it, he actually checks in and he gives an accounting of what it's like in these homeless shelters. Man, he gives a very good accounting. And I wish, that's why I'm going to link it below, man. I'll link both, because I don't want you guys to think that I'm favoring one documentary over another, although I do. But like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll link both. And he gives a very gripping accounting of what it's like inside these shelters. It's why we homeless avoid them at all fucking costs. he has that whole positive mental attitude. It's all grand fun. It's all this. He even jumps into a dumpster to dirty himself up because he wants to. He's trying so hard to immerse himself into what it's like. Now, although it was never spoken of or really a talking point of the documentary, it is accurate to say that as he goes about, trying to get help and things like that, there's so much. He's a white guy, relatively attractive. It's been documented many times. Your looks, your race versus success status. Now, hey. That's not to say that there are no good looking or used to be good looking white guys and gals on the street. The street will definitely chew you up and spit you out. You check back in with those good looking people 5 years down the road and they don't look so hot anymore. But that's a whole separate thing I could go off into. But anyway, because I think he wanted to do a whole month on the street. I think in maybe week 3 or whatnot, he goes, because he's checking into what kind of social services are available. Excuse me, what kind of social services are available to the homeless, and he was indeed surprised to find out there's not as much available to us as many people may have thought. Ultimately, in his quest to understand more, he goes and allegedly, it's like I really don't want to use the word allegedly, but it's because of his weird demeanor and his weird take on the whole documentary thus far. It leaves me, the viewer, with the impression of, is this a real documentary? Is this shit staged? It's kind of weird. Because there are definitely parts of it that make you wonder, this is some fake bullshit. He goes to allegedly try crack cocaine for the first time. He gives a description of it. And then he goes for the granddaddy of them all. He goes to allegedly try heroin. It's such a shame that he had this clandestine approach to his reporting thus far. Had this have been in a different context, had his framing been so very different, this guy could have been in the running for a Pulitzer Prize for his reporting. But it was just so weird up until that point where it does leave you wondering, did he actually try the heroin? He goes to a safe injection site because, like myself, he has no real working knowledge of how to administer drugs. And so he goes to a safe injection site. We never actually see the needle enter his arm, although one of the things, as he's describing, after he injects himself, that, because I've spoken to you guys before about how opioids and euphoria have very little effect on me whatsoever. I've even theorized that it's because I am so jaded and cynical that euphoria, my brain rejects euphoria, endorphins like that. But one of the things that he did say that did immediately catch my interest, he said that he himself is a back pain sufferer, and that when he injected himself with that heroin, all of his aches and pains instantly disappeared. I was like, really? I have to admit, just me hearing that, it kind of crossed my mind, and like I say, I'm not in search of endorphin euphoria highs, but I can't even begin to tell you guys how many years it's been, how long it's been since I have just simply stood up and walked across a room that didn't involve pain. And hey, I get it. There are many out there with severe diseases who would relish the idea of walking with pain, you know. But yeah. Anyway, I really wish his reporting style would have been a little bit different, because that was gripping. It could have been Pulitzer Prize winning shit, man. Uh, but yeah, so interesting enough, what kind of redeems his documentary styling is at the end, he's 4 or 5 days away from completing his 1 month task, but after his heroin high, apparently it only lasted about 20 minutes or maybe a half hour before immediately the icky effects began to overtake him. And matter of fact, it made him feel so bad. And I think sleeping somewhere, because he also talked about how the shelters, they're only limited in bedding and time, how many times you can stay there. So for many homeless who even want to go to the shelters, they end up out on the street because you can only be there but so much. So this guy was going through a type of withdrawal after only having used the shit once, and it just simply crashed him so fucking hard that he ended up aborting his own documentary 5 days shy. So if you were faking, then if you were faking, then why not just simply ride the whole thing out, the full 30 days? Why cut it off 4 or 5 days shy? So it kind of redeemed it. He gave his thoughts afterwards. Like I say, you guys can check out the documentary and check it out, because the homelessness crisis, it's an interesting take on it. Hold on. This what you're looking at. It is a faux documentary, 100%. Seattle is dying by the fake ass Como News. Seattle is dying. As I watch that, matter of fact, it doesn't even deserve the title faux documentary. Seattle is dying is an infomercial. Do you understand? It's an infomercial. We see organizations who are hell-bent on crafting a narrative that says all homeless people are mentally ill and drug addicts. And they became that way because they're mentally ill and drug addicts. They also go on to allege that the homelessness crisis can only be addressed and treated by reactivating the ticketing policy of issuing, because a lot of the cities in the nations have put moratoriums on loitering and panhandling and public camping ordinances, because the homelessness crisis has gotten so bad. A lot of places have put moratoriums on that, and Seattle is dying. That Como News, they're a fake news organization where they get all these fake quotes from anonymous police officers. It's bullshit. And even if police officers did say it, because they have one cop that is retired and claims that he quit his cop job because he couldn't write a loitering ticket. What cop? Because his loitering ticket got tossed in court. What cop quits their job because of some rinky-dinky ticket got tossed out in court? And then It cuts to his home. Now he's white man, late 50s, has a ranch, horses. This man has a lot of money for a cop. Okay. Um. Anyway, the infomercial goes on to lead me to believe that there's also a Jewish politician who wants drug companies. See, income's big. There's a component of we want to build more prisons. In that infomercial, basically the bottom line is reactivate all of your ordinances. Let us build prisons. Let us fill those prisons with prisoners from homeless and everything else, and let's give them drugs. Drugs that we can bill the state for. Drugs that create massive amounts of profit for us and that will ultimately churn out a near zero success rate. Because trust me, everything they talk about in the infomercial, it's already been tried. It's been tried years past, decades past. You cannot arrest a person. You cannot. They talk about forced intervention. I have yet to see a forced intervention lead to actual long-term recovery. It's not going to happen. What time have I got here? 27. I'm gonna spend the rest of my time here because I really wanted to do maybe a two-parter, but I've been thinking about, because we're talking about our Gemstar earrings dropping the act, and once we start viewing things as they actually are, because there is so much drug addiction. Because I'm not glossing over saying that the drug addiction isn't there in the homeless community. One of the things that I'm not signed on to full belief of this yet, but I have been toying with the idea of should homeless communities in a type of nursing home type setting, should they be allowed, not forced to go there, but should they be allowed to sign in? I have no idea how this is going to sound, but self-obliviate, basically. Not commit suicide, but how can I say this? You have these homeless people somewhere between 40 and 60 years old, in that age demographic where it's not exactly your retirement age, and so many people talk about how can we get them back into the workforce. Are you sure that's what you actually want to do? Put these people back into... Do you know how much would be involved? Matter of fact, I think because it's 29... Fuck it. We're going to do a two-parter on this, okay? You're going to see this video cut out at around 32 or 33 minutes, and that will be the end of part one. This is such a big topic that we definitely need to continue this discussion. So this is going to be a two-parter. Let me see, it's 29 now, about to be 30. I don't know if I should even end it right now and pick up in our part two. I think that's what I'll do. In part two, we're going to be discussing the prognosis of the homeless community. The homeless community that would take an inordinate amount of resources to reintroduce them into the workforce. I get it. A lot of people think, oh my God, you're advocating for them to be lazy and to do nothing. Not necessarily. We're going to be talking about socialism in our next episode. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. But yeah, that's what I want you guys to understand. All right, guys. Join me in part two. It'll be uploaded on the same day.